I put the first two in. I guess I was curious on the survey. I know you said we sent it to or internally, like internally, code review group got it, and we didn't get any feedback in the thread, but people filled it out. So I guess I'm curious, like how that's going so far, and then have we sent it more widely?
Yeah, I don't know. It seems like we didn't get any feedback on the thread, as you said, and yeah, I'm probably just going to share it more broadly in the engineering channel. I think it's engineering
Development, I think.
or backend and front end channels. I don't know, and also put it in the engineering week in review documents. So I think if we do that, we should get a good number of responses. Yeah, by I think in the beginning of next week, we should already have a lot of responses. So yeah, 1 week from now, I think we can do another status update and then see if we need to wait more or if we can close it out.
Okay. I mean, I guess we don't really want to talk about it. I was curious how it's been going. I have a Qualtrics account, and maybe I'll find time with you, Catherine, to like figure out how to actually get access to the project, because like Adam gave me an account, but I can't accept Pedro's invite.
So you got an invite from Pedro, right?
I did.
There's like this weird thing. Well, at least to me, it's weird, where I had to take the collaboration code from Pedro's invite and accept that in the interface. So it should prompt you to accept a collaboration, then you enter the code, which is like weird.
Apparently you can only see the box to manually add a code if you already have like an existing project. Like you can't get to that screen that allows you to enter the code unless you have an existing project. And so like, I don't know if I'm supposed to create a project or like.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, I guess you can create, because I was going to say, oh, I'll share one with you, but then it would be the same thing. So yeah, I think just create a project. That's weird.
Yeah, it doesn't seem great. So I might, yeah, just ask you like what kind of, because there's like 3 or 4 options about creating a project or something. It's weird and confusing, and I don't know how we're built, or like, I don't know what to, yeah.
I would just say create a survey. You saw the survey one, right? Like in Core XM or something like that. You can just create a survey. That's what I would suggest.
My options are oh, I can't even create a new project. I'm guessing I don't have like permissions to create a project. Oh wait, there it is. It came up.
I was like, so the accept the collaboration thing popped up?
No, the project
page
is there. I guess I can create a survey.
Yeah, I would create a survey. I feel like it changed slightly, because before I didn't have to do this accept collaboration thing. I just would like click on the link and it would pop up. I swear it changed, and like not for the better. I'm confused as to why.
Okay. Lovely.
Yeah, hopefully that will work. If not, we'll see. We'll see if we can follow up with them on support or something if there's something wrong.
All right. We'll see if this works. Okay, I'll mess with it a little bit later. Oh look, accept collaboration. Now it's there because I have a project with it. Okay, cool. Okay, where's the agenda now? I'm gonna find that doc. Oh, 1310. What do you think that'll look like for you, Pedro? I know like MR mapping is still ongoing. I expect like you need like even if that were wrapped up, I guess by the end of 13.9, it's not like we would have net new feature work, because you wouldn't have worked on anything to like have it ready for 13.10 I guess I'm trying to figure out, do you think in 13.10 we'll sort of get back to reviewers, or do you want more time with some of the other stuff still?
So I think we'll probably have a lot of small things to change in the merge widget. I not only found a couple of bugs here and there, but there are, even at the surface, some things that can be changed. But they're just minor improvements, nothing major. And then, of course, the big thing is coming up with a design that is much more intuitive and fits well with all of the different states and conditions and things that we show there. But that bigger aspect, I don't think we will be able to start implementing it in 13.10. We could probably take 13.10 to share it with engineering and see how we can break it down, because there are certainly things there that have technical constraints. And I also know that we have, well, I don't know if you saw it in the mapping issue, but I think Fabio, I think it was his name, a senior engineer from continuous integration. They're starting a working group with front end and back end to, from what I understand, do more or less the same thing that I'm doing, but from the code base perspective. And basically, yeah, build it out so that it's much easier to work with all of the different states. It's related to the work that also Phil did with creating a GraphQL framework for the merge request widgets, but it's it's just related. It's not the same thing. So I think for 13.10, related to the merge widgets, there will certainly be a lot of small things to improve and issues that we would need to address. But I don't know if you want to prioritize them for 13.10 compared to everything else that we have.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I think I guess in my mind, I sort of, and maybe this is an interesting clarification. In my mind, I expect it to come back and sort of like, we now understand like how the merge button works, and like here's the way we want it to work, and sort of like all of these cases and the error messages we want it to show, but not necessarily like redesign where it's located or how it exists on the page, but like let's just sort of functionally fix it first, and then we can talk about like, is that the right spot for it?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
So no, we're aligned. So I'm not going to propose a new location and do like a really big innovative design. I don't think that's feasible. So we will be building on what we have today, but just making more sense out of it, and like being much easier to use and understand. And yeah, like for example, one of the things that it kind of boggles me a little bit is we don't have a huge difference between like the messages and the actions that we show to people who can merge and people who can't merge. Um, and sometimes we show things that people just can't do, and we're like saying to them, hey, you should approve this merge request, or you should fix this pipeline, and maybe I can't do it. I don't have any permissions to do it, or it's nothing to do with me. So there are many things that we can do to improve that in text, UI placements, many other things, but it's not going to be a big redesign. What I was saying is that I am anticipating that some of the changes that I will propose could potentially not be implementable right away. And we would have to think how to change things in the front end and back end so that they're possible.
Okay, that makes more sense. I think, and yeah, I've seen the continuous integration working group. I think Andre and I talked about it, and one of the things I want to be clear of about that is that, like, I want us to come back and sort of like have the guiding, like, this is what it needs to be, and then engineering to sort of align on how they like want to implement that, but like not. And I think code review sort of needs to own the, like, is it a back end thing, or is all the logic in the front end, or where does all that exist? And like, because ultimately, like, we'll have to be able to tell other people how to do this, and it shouldn't be like sort of one group. Shouldn't be sort of the non-code review experience people sort of dictating how that button is communicated to in response, I guess.
Yeah.
So just to make sure that we're in a better spot
Yeah.
there. So okay, so okay, so I just want to, so for 1310, you think there will be potentially like a couple of things that maybe we can go and do, but more stuff will need like investigation time by engineering to figure out like the longer term things to go and do there. And then does that mean in 1310 that you will have sort of like returned capacity to like go back to looking at reviewers, or are you thinking 1310 will still be like in the merge button area?
No. I think in by 1310 I'll be back and be able to work on reviewers again. Yeah. And yeah, I'm thinking that the next priority would be the handoff, I believe, correct?
Yeah, I think it's handoff is what we're still like. We've got the first iteration of like the reviewer change if Phil's stuff gets merged, like of being able to request a re-review, and like I think we'll just need to continue working out sort of what are the gaps in that flow that we want to address, and then what are the is there anything else that we need to do there? Or like what else do we want to do there? Yeah.
Yeah, no, I think the handoff is what we need to solve more urgently. Yeah, and then to be honest, I'm kind of looking forward to what we will get out of the survey as well. But my assumption right now is that we won't need to work on reviewers that much after that, and we will have more important things to work on. I mean, there are things to do with reviewers, of course, and we could stay the rest of the year just working on things for reviewers. But in terms of priority, I don't know, like after handoff, if in 1310 I'm able to come up with something that is usable and then kind of addresses all of the corners of the reviewer and author handoff, it would then just be a couple or more milestones that engineering would have to implement it. So we can then dedicate more of my time to start looking into the other problems that we can prioritize. Like, I don't know, if the top problem is catching up, we could dedicate time to that or something else. I don't know if it makes sense what I said. I was talking many things at the same time.
Yeah, I think that's right. I think I think handoff is the big one. I don't know that it's like a simple, quick problem to solve because I think there's like a bunch of things we want to potentially want to do, right? Like we want to sort of get to that final comment piece. We want to sort of build in more like, I think, you know, if I were thinking about this handoff piece, like we need, I think the signaling piece, we've got to figure out like where we get comfortable and like, where do we draw the line on like signaling being done in terms of, like I go through and I review it and then I submit my review, and are my options like I review and approve it, or I have more changes or whatever. And then that comes back to me, and sort of like those back and forth interactions that ultimately like we can have a signal or get to a place where we're able to track better to like, do I need to action this MR, and then sort of flip the MR drop down and dashboard page back to like MRs you need to action, and not just like where you're assigned and reviewed, right? Like I think that is, to me, like getting back to a single non-drop down state where it's like merge requests I need to action is probably the like how we know we're done with handoff piece. And I don't know how many things we have to do to get there, but it feels like that is probably where we get to a goal where we say like, okay, we've got reviewers in a spot where like it is functional and you now know what you need to do on a merge request.
Yeah, I agree.
And then I also like, and I think that's like the handoff piece. I also think we should be trying to get rid of danger at the same time. That's the other one that's like on my mind, is I want to get rid of danger, and the fact that it suggests reviewers. Like obviously it should, we have enough of this. We should figure out how much of this data we have in product, but we have a lot of data in the product now. And like, we should start leveraging that to make the reviewers, which we already do, right? Like reviewers already suggest who should review based on approval rules. But like, we also know how many MRs, like we would also, in theory, if we solve this other thing about handoff, know how many MRs you still need to action. We, in theory, know your time zone. Like we, in theory, know what you specialize in based on, like based on the way code owners is defined. And like, we should be able to provide a recommendation for the reviewer. And really, like, to me, the ideal workflow, and this is like crazy, but like when you create your MR, it defaults and creates as a draft. As soon as you removed like the draft status, which would basically signal that you're ready for it to be reviewed, we as GitLab should assign the reviewer, right? Like that's it. We should pick the right one. And like, you might not disagree and have to go change it, but like, we should have like a fairly high confidence that we've selected the right reviewer for you, assuming we have enough data sources. And so I think that's the other piece that like, I want to also start working on with reviewers, is that, because it's sort of frustrating that there's all these other things that people use to like do that.
Yeah, I never dedicated myself a lot to DangerBot, but you're right, and we should aim to replace it as soon as possible, because we're adding a lot of very useful functionality to it, and it could be even more useful if those efforts were channeled to the right places of the product and the right moments. And right now it's just a comment that I just realized that I think last month that it updates. So it's being edited. Because it was really weird. I saw someone's name like one day, and then the next day I went there and it was a different name and a different person. And that was crazy. I didn't realize it was being edited. And it's incredible at the same time, the effort that was put into that. So it was updated every once in a while. But yeah, I think it would be interesting to look into that. I'm not sure how that where that is in the list of priorities. Because I mean, yeah.
Yeah, I don't, to me, it's part of like the vision of reviewers, right? Like the pitch of reviewers is sort of, is less about the role and more about helping you find the right reviewer. And so if we think that the reviewer feature helps you find the right reviewer, like to me, that's our prime function of Danger, is that it finds the right reviewer for someone. Right. And so like reviewers in GitLab is designed to minimize the amount of processing you have to do to find the person who can merge your code the fastest, right? And that we should therefore we should do that, right? Like that is the end state of reviewers, is like, I mean, the handoff is a piece. The handoff to me is more, it's about reviewers. Like it's going to be related to the reviewers feature, because I think that's where a lot of this stuff will like come together. But the handoff feature is almost more in line with what we've talked about like tracking what do I need to action on a merge request, right? Like we've talked about like how do I understand status and do all of that. That is much more in line with like tracking the status of a merge request, whereas finding the right reviewer is sort of like was the original reviewer's intent, I think. And what I think is we don't, as a company, don't feel this as a pain because we use Danger. And so like we've circumvented that problem. There are lots of organizations that I've seen that like can't write Ruby, so they don't have Danger. Or they like their answer, like I've been talking with another company whose answer is their default merge request template, in order to just like tell everyone that a merge request exists and someone needs to review it, like someone in their group, their default merge request template mentions every developer on the project. So that way they all know that a merge request is there and like someone needs to go review it. But there are lots of groups that like want to mention entire teams to tell them that there's a merge request that they need to go review. Did I freeze? Did you freeze? Oh,
I agree. I
no.
think the recommendation part is definitely important in trying to automate that, so we can reduce the time that you spend trying to find the right person. Yeah, I'm not gonna disagree with that. I think it's a great problem to go after. I just don't know how it compares to the other things, but I mean, in a way, you're right that we have built Danger, and if another company is using another tool that already does this for them, they will have a really hard time of migrating to GitLab, and will, even if when they do, they will have a frustrating experience, because if they're a really large team, they don't know how to who they should assign merge requests to. Yeah, maybe along the way when we're working on handoff, we will have more knowledge about it. One thing that I wanted to talk about the handoff, and I don't know if I'll probably be able to join tomorrow's call with the weekly, but I'm not sure, is that that idea I think you suggested about perhaps having a filter that you can filter down like merge requests that need your attention. Like I'm a reviewer of like reviewer equals Kai, and then I don't know, review needed or review done or whatever it is. I think it would be, because we've had so many recent problems with the filters, I would probably like for an engineer to look into that possibility before we do it. So even if it needs a spike in 1310, just like know if it's something that we can do or not.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that makes sense. I gotta drop. I will look at the last one. Oh, okay. I've got David's last meeting's running over, so we've got 5 minutes. Hey.
Yeah, it's a really small thing. Yeah, I just shared the minimum priority for UX bugs in merge requests in the UX weekly, and I also added that as a note to the engineering weekly in review. Yeah, and I think, I mean, the people that will feel this the most are probably going to be PMs, but I don't know what is the best avenue to share this. Also, because there are probably going to be questions about how are we going to prioritize? We don't have enough resources, you know, that thing. And I'm not the best person to answer those questions. So perhaps you could help with this.
Yeah, I will potentially. No one. I will say. I don't want to say no one. It is not clear to me how the MR with that stuff got merged, because Anoop resolved like 7 open threads to an issue and merged it, and then there's been no like response.
Okay.
So like I don't know if people like the CI folks had like a ton of open issues. I think product, like we had open issues, like open comments on that, and then they all just sort of got resolved and was like, this is it. But like I don't know that like anyone really understood like how do we deal with this in practice yet. And so yeah, I don't know. I will follow up with Anoop and find out like if he's planning on addressing the other things as well.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. I mean, it's already in the handbook. That's why
I know.
I showed it. And we there's also the automation issue to automatically update all of the issues. And I think they're planning on working on it either this week or next. So
Yeah, I
yeah.
will go follow up on it and just see
Okay.
what's going on with it. 'Cause, yeah, I was confused when it like suddenly got merged, and then people have asked questions on like the resolve thread, the resolve issue, and they're like, I don't understand what happened. So I'll go follow up on it.
Okay. Okay.
Cool. Well, it's good to see everyone. Thanks.
See you
Yeah.
too.
We'll chat again either tomorrow or next week.
Yeah. Good seeing you too. Have a great week, everyone. Bye
All
bye.
right, bye.